treatment started, we had a pipeline that was flowing here. And what had happened was it was too much, I mean not enough, excuse me, for the two cities, for Oregon City and West Lynn. So we decided to build the treatment plant. And we draw off the Clackamas River. So currently we've taken the line off. The mountain line is no longer.
That's a long way.
Yeah.
30 miles, so at least.
Well, we have some old pictures in here. It's pretty good. But anyway, we have some old piping and stuff like that. We'll carry on. The stream flow current monitor, we use the pilot filters, which gives us a glimpse of, you guys know about detention time and all that stuff, right? Yeah. So as it gives us a glimpse, it takes our sample, boom, right away, so that 4 hours from now, if you're running AWD or whatever, we know we're going to get what our filters are going to do 4 hours from now. Okay?
And what do you call these?
Pilot filters. Sorry? Pilot filters. Correct. These are just small samples of what's out here. This is the beginning. This is our. You okay, Doug? Yeah. Okay. Here's our. I haven't. Forgive me on some of the questions. If I jump ahead of something or whatever. I'm used to taking school kids, little kids around. So I don't go into too much detail usually. So
There's no difference.
Easy. Easy. We have to record everything, you know, through the stage and this and that. So everything we do, every action we take is seen by 3 different angles. You know, so, because when you're an operator, you're in charge, it's your life. You're the one ultimately trying to put this down. Anything happens, there's no risk. So there's different times to make a decision. But it's like right. And there's a lot of pressure, so people take it to some media in our filters now. Okay. You have the anthracite and you have your sand. Okay.
Anthracite and sand filters. What type of sand?
Dual medium.
Dual medium.
Anthracite. Garnet.
Garnet sand. Okay. Pilot
You have one of your
filters.
supposed to look. It's okay. We have the turbidimeters that we use for our combined turbidimeters. This was our little invention here. The output is kind of cool. You get to work with stuff. Like let's say a piece of equipment doesn't quite do what you need. You have room out here if you're smart about it to make it work, make it do. As long as it stays within a certain parameter. For example, we have to run a minimum 3 gallons a minute. So we have this little tube that we can adjust, and it makes our operators, they can boom, get going. If it gets to this point in 1 minute, shut it off, it's ready to go. Where before we had to shut everything off, take our sample, turn everything back on, recalibrate everything, and then it was a pain. So we actually cut about a half hour out of our work, during our sampling stuff. So it's kind of nice.
Let alone, I think this is the first time we've seen pilot filters, and it's all close and right within the data set. If you need the info, you can grab a sample right from the station.
Well, this is all for the controls, of course. But things could be jumping around right now if we're in startup. Right now, it's your sample points. Like you see there, I don't want to be videotaping it, but as a startup here, I'm pointing out it's saying 0.8.
What if, let's see here.
6 million gallons per day winter,
Current
18
treatment plant flow
million
rate
gallons
is
per day
6 million
summer.
gallons right now, this time of year.
No, per day.
Per day.
I'm doing right now. We're flowing at 10.3 million gallons. If we were to run 24 right now, we'd produce 10.3 million gallons. But we shut down for about 4 or 5 hours. Because right now we're in a situation also we're kind of restricted on your phone a little faster. They tell you when you're getting more breakthrough quicker. The other turbidimeters too. But 6 and 1 half. You're talking, particles greater than 2, or greater than 5 microns. I mean, you're actually measuring every single particle coming through there. So, when we're fighting against cryptosporidium or Giardia or something like that, it's critical. But when counts are greater than 100, we backwash. So that's another tool that we use. We talk about it. But usually we use, turbidimeter, if turbidity, or if the flow. Sometimes we use a filter 8 polymer. And know what that is, guys?
Yeah.
The filtrate polymer is what it does. Is it's a polymer that kind of coats the top of the filter. It helps treat, pull out the particles on the higher up on the filter. So what happens is sometimes you'll get a lot of hours, and we get like the head loss will be, like 6.8 or 7, but we'll hardly get any flow really. So we can't get enough, so we're backwashing for that reason also, which is called head loss.
Do you know what your current alum dosage is on your rapid mix?
The current alum dosage right now, I think it's 4.5 parts. With our pre-feed poly, you guys, I don't know if you have a question in there about that. Our pre-feed poly right now is 0.8 parts. That's also for all of our pre-feed rapid mix.
It's what again?
0.8 parts. Polymer LT7990 is the name of it. They have so many polymers out there, they just give them
Something from NASA or something. Do you know what your concentration of your alum is? What percentage? Or is 35%? Or?
Well, dry alum rate is 5.2 pounds per gallon. For every gallon of, you guys can figure that out then. I'll give you a little math. For every gallon of liquid alum that we have is equivalent to 5.2 pounds of dry alum. Work with these guys, trying to get them to come in, and they've been doing a lot of work for us for free, which is nice. And these guys have actually written their own programs on the turbidimeters for us, and they're doing our particle counts. So we go over here, and we have all these tabs here. See, like for particle counts, excuse me, wrong one. We have the daily turbidity, so like I could report to the state, and it's downloading the data. And it should be processing something here pretty quick. Let's go to a different date. This one, well, there it is.
Oh, wow.
But anyway, in the end, it gives me minimums, it gives me my average and maximums. It's pretty cool. They're doing a really good job for us. Pipeline, see where the white truck is? Comes up from the river, comes right across the field, right there, cuts right in the corner, right underneath the doors there. Cuts through underneath the ground, and comes up that square standpipe. Comes up. At that point, though, we inject the alum, and just before that, we inject the poly. Okay. And we also inject the chlorine.
You pre-chlorinate.
You pre-chlorinate.
What do you use to pre-chlorinate?
Sodium hypochlorite.
At 12 or what percent? 50%?
0.8%.
20%.
So as it comes through the system, of course, we have the rapid mix. We're using for our rapid mix, we use the pumps and reverse flow to mix. And then a little bit in here underneath us, we no longer have mechanical mixers for a rapid mix. And we just use just the water moving around through here. But the pre-mix, it's flash mixing. Boom.
So it's first the poly, then the alum, and then the chlorine?
Correct. So as you come through, along with the close, out here, this is our serpentine flocculators. The serpentine, pretty obvious how it follows the name.
Yeah.
The key is here, you see how you have some turbulence in the water here, but at each stage you want to slow it down. See how you have some here, a little bit there, and then it slows down at each stage. Can you see the difference between each stage?
Yeah.
And that's the key. And then out there you want to just be barely moving because you don't want to shear the flock.
Right.
With the drop all the water down about once a year. Drop it down on either side.
Do you wonder if they use the spider web?
And we get about
Keep stuff from falling
probably
on
about a
top?
foot of
Is
mud
that
every year. Now the flood of '96, when I was in here, I had to get in after that. That stuff was up to here. It was ridiculous. Yeah, it was not.
Flocculation basin with serpentine baffle.
Now for hydraulics, we don't use every set of holes. We've plugged up every other hole in there. water in there.
So this is a flock lake basin still right here?
It comes all the way
I
around
think
to that
that part
outside
was.
channel.
Okay.
Goes all the way around that outside channel and then back to the filter. Pretty simple.
So,
One of our next projects are to be to remount these weirs. They're getting out of balance. They're just getting beat up pretty good for all the years of work. That'll be our next project. We're getting the type training for next year.
Do you ever any problems with the neighbors?
They're new. They're here this year. So we didn't have, I don't know. Can't answer that question.
I gotta wait for it. Well, a lot of times you can confuse wastewater and water.
Yeah.
We've had that before.
Well, we haven't had any problems yet.
Okay, and then we come up and over, collects right there, goes around,
Correct.
and then over to the two
Correct.
filter beds.
Over to the four.
Okay, 4 filter beds.
Yeah, there's 2 on the other side.
And how about over there?
Those are our lagoons, and that is where we do after we backwash. When we backwash our filters, the dirt, the material that we get from the backwash goes out there, and then we let it settle out. Then we decant it, and when we decant back to the beginning of the process, because the decant rule, the state has required us to send it all the way to the very beginning again and start over. But it saves us a little extra money.
Baffle flock
Quite as much
basin
to
here.
move from there to here.
Over the weirs,
As it does from the
back
intake here.
around to the outside, over to the 4
Any
filter
questions
beds,
out here, guys?
backwash basin, or backwashing of the
We have
filters,
one
the
guy,
material goes there.
legend has it. Named the convicts guys, but they're not. I'm kind of proud of that. It's pretty much common to our plant though. That's those long lines I told you about inventing stuff. You think about something as an operator. Well, what was happening? We were getting I don't know what you call it. I call it a resonance. But we were getting a vibration, it was creating waves that were going across and making all those prods were going just slowly. The more water you put into it, the more waves that start moving. So we're shaking those prods 24/7, 365 days a year for 15 years doing it. I'm sitting here watching it, looking at it, thinking, okay, first I made like a log room, and I thought that it was coming from this side, coming this way, but it wasn't. Apparently it's like in the water. I don't know how, but it was shaking. It was ripping out bolts. Stainless steel bolts that actually ripped out the concrete, 6 inches of concrete, just pull it right out of the. We had to fix it with other stainless steel bracket collars to hold it in place. And so these things got beat up really bad. We were getting to the point of calling in engineers and they said, oh, it'd be about 100,000, maybe 150,000 to do this, and then we kind of brought up. I walk out there with those things, throw them on there for $100 a piece, fixed it. We had a problem there. So we have with conventional is you have time to think about it, time to make your adjustments and stuff like that.
because you probably don't get a very huge flock since your turbidity coming in is so low.
Right. Most of we're making adjustments. We're turning things down because we're trying to fine tune it. Because right now, most of the flock we're getting is really not. It's artificial from the alum. It's created. So it's not it's kind of, I don't know what that type of term to give it exactly. And it seems to be, and I've noticed it in a lot of plants that use alum. And some of the conclusions I've come to over time is this occurs only in the summer months, or the spring and the summer. In the winter, I don't get this film. And it's indicative, apparently, according to Dan Lundy, of water treatment plants that use alum. Now, the conclusion I have come to on this, or with this, I don't know if it's accurate or not, but I'm going to stick to it until somebody tells me different, is what I see along our river, the Clackamas River, and I was noticing one day when I was driving up and down, checking out the river, because that's where we get our drinking water, is all the trees were blooming. And I'm thinking it's pollen. And pollen doesn't like, you look at pollen under a microscope, it's like this. It doesn't like to sink. So that's my common sense one, but I don't know if it's the truth or not. So as I showed you in the with the pilot filters. You know what it looks like now, right? You're looking at the very top of that pilot filter in a way. Only this is our real filter. So it's going down through the media right now. This water is. You see those little the foam there? It looks like. That's that film that you see on top back there. When it gets condensed more, it'll actually make little islands. Not over this so much because we catch it out there. But it'll actually make little islands. One time I asked everybody just leave it alone, let it keep getting bigger and bigger, and it actually grew a little tree in it. As it was floating in there. Just to check it out, it had a little tree growing up.
Organic, you can tell that.
Yeah, it was floating around, and I grabbed the tree when it was all done and pulled it out. And,
Wow, that's trippy.
So with your dual media, you have 4 feet of anthracite coal and then 1 foot of garnet sand? Is that the dimensions?
pretty close.
Okay.
That's pretty close. Plus or minus a couple inches.
Backwash after about 8 feet of head loss. Checking turbidity. Roughly 70 hours.
Surface sweeps.
You said you were able to increase the efficiency of the filters. How did you
Accomplish that.
How did you accomplish that?
Well, we ran 3 filters instead of 4.
Oh, okay.
And they seem to be more, the filters like it when you have a little higher flow rate going through them.
Oh.
And we were able to run a lot longer. We adjusted the pumps. We ran the plant a lot longer. And we didn't have the starts and stops.
Oh,
the
great.
starts and stops kill these things.
Oh, boy.
It just hurts. It does more. I'm overreacting. Okay, but
Not good.
You don't want them too clean because they're not efficient if they're not clean.
But anyway, and with that and the chemical adjustments, we were using our filter aid poly more efficiently. And by using the filter aid poly, like in the winter, we add a little bit more poly to catch the particles, on the top of the filter better, and we were able to get more time out of them. We were going on the average about 40 hours on the filters, and we were getting 70 to 80 hours. So there's the numbers.
Wow.
And we averaged it all the way through the whole winter. Even during the high turbidity, we were running, 15, 20, sometimes we get spikes of 150 NTUs and it was handling just fine.
Is that right? Wow.
What's your flow rate through your filter?
Right now, probably 2,000 gallons a minute. I don't know the square footage of the filter off the top of my head.
Do you use different coagulation techniques for your lower hydrophility?
We reduce our flows. We haven't done any different coagulation techniques as far as running just alum or just poly in a while, but we are going to. That's something that, as operators, we should always be trying, because it gives you more confidence. Because when you're here by yourself, no one else is getting embarrassed and people tease you for losing the plant or whatever. It is, but the more confidence you have, the more skill you have. It's nice when somebody calls you up in the middle of the night, "It's lost, and you're the only one that can save us." And you're there. It feels good. To go to, so it was Oregon City, and I networked working in public works, and then just worked my butt off. And then they ended up walking me up here. It was good old boys network. This industry is, let's see, am I being filmed on this? Humidity head loss 6.3. I think this one has the highest hours on it. It's like almost 40-something hours right now on this. So right now the head loss is jumping up pretty good. But see, we have our combined effluent meter, or effluent valve, saying it's 38% open. So we're getting close to maxing that thing out. We can go to, before we get the flow up this high, probably we're getting pretty close. So the flow is, that's it. We're going to have to backwash just because we can't get the flow to this.
Is that this right side?
No, these are both considered one filter. This is considered one filter to us.
This side's your controls.
They, even without oil, they were running. Matter of fact, one time we had a situation down here until we had never flooded the intake, or flooded this before. When we were doing a backwash, there was the potential to flood this place. And we got flooded, these guys were underwater and they were still working. So they were pretty good, they're pretty tough. This is our pipe gallery. Called. You guys understand the coloring. We're in the middle of coloring our pipe and stuff like that, marking it properly and all that. You're standing on our clear well underneath us right now. We have this clear well, let's see, I think it's 5.5 million gallons. I mean, 0.55 million, 0.55 million gallons.
Just over half a million.
I
I just said, well, that's a big clear one.
0.55.
We must go way down there.
So we'll move on over here, I guess. This is our pump room. It's also contains our domestic water supply. And our backwash pump is down there, and then our sample pump. This is also in there where the injection points are for the chlorine, the poly, and the alum. Okay. Actually, that's not the injection point for the alum too. The injection point for the alum is in that upflow.
What was their order again?
Poly, alum, and then let's see, chlorine.
Poly, alum, and then chlorine.
Feeds into our soda ash feed upstairs. So we load it from down here. You're standing over here. To the mat is the alum pumps. Here's our alum tank.
Alum pumps.
We have our poly here for our pre-feed poly.
Alum tank.
The polymer.
Soda ash.
Temporary system set up. It's kind of evolved into an 8-year temporary system. So we're just kind of making it more and more permanent. We're waiting on putting a tank inside or outside. And because to load the stuff in kind of gets messy. You need to clean up once in a while. Because this stuff's like syrup. If it gets loose, you want to flow or whatever, it just takes forever. And I don't know if there's any around here. They cleaned up pretty good.
Are we doing 5 questions again for us?
You know you're answering these questions.
These numbers are on the side of the tank. We had a leak one time. Alum has a very low pH. And one time there's a hole on the back side, just popped in there, so we put a cork in it, thinking, okay, that'll hold us for a couple days, so we can get alum. It was on the weekend. It always happens on the weekend. And so we thought that would work. Well, it didn't. Then a guy came out here, so we drained it down as much as we could. We brought a welder out. The welder welded it's a plate, 1/4-inch plate steel we put on that, and ate right through that in like 10 days. So right through it. And then we put epoxy on it and did it the right way. And it's been fine ever since. But these numbers for the thickness, when they did a little, I don't know what kind of tool, but sonic device, and it told us the thickness of the metal. So it's all pretty close. And the bottle stuff we're just cleaning up here still. We'll take out the sodium hypochlorite next. We'll put it in the tanks, and we did all the plumbing. We didn't do the wall. I don't have that skill. But we did we have some guys doing the wall for us and the doors. I can't set doors yet. I'm actually okay with it.
I was hearing when I put down through. Where do you put your soda ash in that? And what part of the process?
And then soda ash goes at the very end.
For a buffer type of
Exactly.
buffer limiting.
pH adjustment. Maybe for lead and copper. We're fighting lead and copper. pH adjustment all together.
And going on both pH ranges.
Right. And this is our sodium hypochlorite generation. What it is we inject salt water into it, add a lot of electricity. These are all titanium plates. And add a lot of electricity, and voila, we get some sodium hypochlorite and hydrogen gas. How does it work? You were going to say something like that, weren't you?
I was going to ask you this, but it looks pretty neat.
Do you find it better to do it on site than just bring it in yourselves, or?
Yeah, well, we can go under one that way. When we go under one, we can avoid all the costs. And going back to cost again. If we were to have chlorine gas here, chlorine gas is a little cheaper to get, but after we were talking about maintenance and things like that, because we had a scrubber to go with it. If we had 2 one-ton cylinders here, we had to have a 2-ton scrubber system, which involved caustic soda. It involved a lot of other stuff. It was like sitting above us. It would dump. If the chlorine got loose, it would dump the caustic soda or something. I forgot how it worked exactly. Which would take out the chlorine. So it would be a lot of money to put in. And then this system was the same cost to put in as the scrubber system, but in the long run, we're going to probably pass up their cost.
So how much will it reduce?
600 pounds a day. It's equivalent to 600 pounds a day.
Pretty good, actually.
So before we leave, when we start, I'll start it up and show you. You can see the bubbles like I can show the kids. They love them. You see all the bubbles and everything, the hydrogen gas.
Doesn't that make your electric bill pretty high though? That's a lot of electricity to produce.
Well, the cost of the chlorine is more expensive also because they do the same process to make chlorine. It's more.
Chlorine and caustic soda.
So they're going to charge us. The cost still gets carried over. Either we can pay for it, and we can wholesale cost on electric just like anybody else. So anyway, but this is going to need clean. I have an appointment for the guy. He's coming out now. Just to build up the calcium. You'll see some of the iron. But we have, this is really a nice setup for this system because our water is very hard. And so if the hard water, it beats the heck out of these things.
Is there an actual, that's the manufacturer's name, Vortec?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the actual name of the
Yeah. They're a pretty good company. They've been pretty good to us. We're getting ready. We've been taking things apart here and there. That's why it's kind of messy, of course. It's obvious. A lot of construction. We're moving stuff around and making, looking around things. Anyway, long story short, bear with us. Next time you come, if you come again, we'll be a lot cleaner and better looking. I hope.
That's the theory.
Yeah, big theory.
Do you know of any other plants that do this on their own?
Yeah. Salem is one. There's several little package plants in Washington. Clark Utilities has several of these things. They're just little guys. They're about this big.
If you're making 600, they don't need much.
No. Yeah, see, they use a barrel of salt. They go through like 50 pounds of salt in a month. We go through, 5,000 pounds. We have 25 tons now out there. So we go through quite a bit. And then we have, because retro, we have like some of the chlorine, in case we ever have to go to court. Again, we can do it. We're grandfathered in. And as long as those don't get moved, the state says you can do it. And I think it's stupid, but oh well.
Now is this an automated system as far as the salt feed and everything? Or?
Yes. What it does is, when it gets to a certain level, the tank does, kicks it off. That's why when I start this up, we're 80% of the tank now. And so when I start up, it's going to fill up so it gets to 95, I think is what it is. 95%. So I can start it, I heard it, anything like that, but it's going to get so loud in here, it's going to be no fun to talk. Got to start yelling.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a neat little system. Well, little second largest in Oregon, I think.
I went on a tour through the old Penwell plant in the Willamette before they became a super fun site.
Right.
I met, obviously the biggest producer,
Iron staining.
one of the biggest producers on the West Coast. And
Calcium
they
precipitate.
sell for
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. A lot of power.
Yeah.
Show you guys. So what's happening is that pump the air pump just kicked on. You hear it? What it's doing is it's blowing out the hydrogen. You see the hydrogen bubbles are still kind of trapped in there a little bit, kind of like a pop, soda pop. But anyway, now it's injecting the water and it's mixing the salt water at the same time. The water is used eventually to create a suction for the salt water. But you want to mix them a little bit because you get maximum saturation of your salt water. We're going to go in there and it starts building up. Now we're going to start building up the rectifier here. See here, it starts charging up. And over the power. You see it pick up a bubble. Pick off. It'll start converting. As you use acid wash this out. To get out all that calcium. Just put your last acid wash it. Start getting off. See if you're good.
soda ash feeder.
So where does the soda ash come in on that?
Into this hopper, okay, downstairs when you're loading it, remember where it's
On the other side, there's an
and it comes
opening.
up this,
Water.
it dumps into here. And this feeds, then there's an auger inside it, spinning around really slow. Really fast. No, this, it feeds up with like a shovel on this little chain, a big chain in here, and it goes around this big wheel up there, and there's going like this. And it dumps into that, which in turn dumps into here.
You say you think you might be updating this? Or?
Yeah, well, depending on what happens, we have Stage 2 and Hill. We hired them, I guess, to do our survey for our lead and copper and this and that. It's a silly rule, lead and copper to me, because they make us. I don't understand why yet. Maybe that's why I say it's silly, because I don't understand. But they make us monitor the water inside somebody's home when it's not really our responsibility. Past the meter, we don't know what they're doing. 0.7. Bring in the post.
Filter.
What else?
Got a couple of questions here to ask. Which of the coagulation control techniques work during normal load turbidity?
Earlier it was boost flow, and also you said you could. They haven't done it yet, but they're thinking about trying different, like just polymer, just alum.
Currently, we use a polymer or an alum.
Oh yeah.
And we can switch to just alum or just polymer. Those are some of the techniques that we use.
What about extremely high turbidity?
On extreme, we use both polymer and alum. We use both. And we just increase chemical dosage.